This story will tell you why I believe in vampires, and I have waited a year to share this story, quite frankly, just because I was too scared to share it. I didn't know if the bad energy would come for me. It honestly was just so freaky. I told some friends in person. Some people didn't believe me. The thing is, I did not experience this by myself, so this is what happened to me. So I'm a real estate agent, and I was showing my partner a property that he was interested in because he is a real estate investor, and this was a foreclosure in the Cherry Hills area of Denver, and it was listed, I think, for just under $4 million, and it was still worth millions above that if it was all fixed up. So he was really interested, and he wanted to go check it out. So when we went, we saw that another real estate agent was there showing the property because there was 2 cars there. And as we started looking around the property, we could see them out in the pool house. We did not think anything of it. We ended up crossing paths actually at the pool house the first time we crossed paths with these people. So there was a real estate agent, and then there was an elderly man and 2 elderly women. But the thing is these people, I don't know how to explain this, but they looked like they were 300 years old, all of them. And to make it look even more concerning, both women had wigs on, apparent wigs, because you could see they were kind of coming back, and these wigs had dust all over them, and they were crooked. And then they both had makeup that had been caked on over and over and over without being washed. And the man had hair about down to here, and from here down was completely white, and then the rest of the way was black. He had dyed it, but it had been not dyed for this long. And the real estate agent looked to be their grandchild. I can't explain it, but she looked like them, but way younger. So when she saw me, she just asked for the code, obviously gave me the key, said they were almost finished and they were going to leave. And me and my partner were kind of startled, and I really wanted to look at them more. I was drawn to them. I just never seen people like this. What made it more concerning is the way that all 3 of them walked. They all walked exactly the same. They all had their head cocked to the side like this, and then they walked like they were dead. Like they all walked with 1 foot forward and then kind of dragged the back, 1 foot forward, just kind of like this zombie walk, very slow, and all 3 together. And it was the most honestly frightening thing I've ever seen. It just shocked me. And at the time, I did not believe in vampires. So I honestly wanted to say, hey, can I get a picture with you guys? I just had never seen people like this. And I didn't even know what to think. And I forgot to say their face, all 3 of their faces were pale white, like they had never seen the sun. So white. So we keep looking at the property. Now I have to add about this property. As we were driving over to the property, the listing agent called and he said, just some feedback that I've gotten, a lot of people are saying that the home feels dark. Now, I feel like it has a lot of windows, and, I see that some of the walls are dark, but I don't feel like it, is dark and dreary, but let me know your thoughts. Well, at this point, I'm thinking about the real estate agent's words, and I'm thinking to myself, the home feels dark, not that it looks dark, like it actually has a dark aura to this house. Now, this house was built in 1996, and it has fallen apart somehow. I don't even know how a house that's only 2 decades old has fallen apart like this. Like the pool, it had a pool in the back, and the concrete and everything was destroyed. It was crumbling. Like the whole house felt like it was crumbling. Even if someone just vacated the house and left it, a home should not be falling apart like this. I don't even know how it got to this point. We see the other real estate agent and the 3 people they're showing the house to leave. they get in their cars and leave. So I don't think much of it. They're gone. Well, then we get to the primary bedroom, and this bedroom is humongous. The carpet's been ripped out, and the closet, the primary closet, is huge, humongous. But it has this strange ladder in the middle of it, going up to a bolted door that's bolted on the inside. And we just think, oh, that must be the attic. So then we go upstairs and we go into what is obviously a little girl's, I don't know if a little girl's room, but a girl's room, because although it was completely empty, it had flower switch plates on the lights and it had girl blinds on the windows. And when we went into the bathroom, you first go to the bathroom, and then from the bathroom is a closet, a big walk-in closet. And on the floor of that closet is the door. The door that's bolted on the other side that goes to the primary closet. And at this point, I'm freaked out. I'm like, this house, evil things have happened in this house. It felt really bad. And other strange things to this house that I don't have to get into, but we basically, at this point, we go down and now we're in the kitchen. And it's on the same floor as the kitchen is on the main floor. And who comes walking in? The man. The man that had gotten his car and left. He's come back without his real estate agent. And he's slowly creeping, walking to us. And I'm still drawn to this person. I can't explain it. I need to know more. Who is this person? So I walk over to him. My partner keeps trying to get me away. And he goes, hey, are you the real estate agent? And he says this to my partner. And my partner says, no, I'm the buyer. She's the real estate agent. And he just says, oh, I just wanted to know who this house's next victim was going to be. I mean, honestly, my everything went cold. Now, my partner remembers him touching me. I don't. But after he starts walking away, my partner actually grabs me into the garage and he's like, what the heck is going on? Is this the Addams family? Like, why do you keep going by them? Stay away from them. Like, they're scaring me. And again, at this point, I don't believe in vampires or supernatural things. I don't. So I wasn't scared of them. But here's the thing. The very next day from meeting this man who touched me, I almost die. I can't explain this, but I had to have been drugged through a fast food restaurant window, and I'm not going to say which one because it's the only time I ate something from somebody else. And they had got my order wrong. I had asked them to fix it. Now, I was driving home after eating this, and I had gone to the store, and now I'm driving home, and I wake up to oncoming traffic. Like, something is so wrong with me, and I'm confused. I had not had any substances at all. I don't have substances, and I don't know what's going on with me. So I pull over. I actually pull over and get some coffee because I'm still confused, and I make it home. Thank goodness. And by the time I get home, I get in my bed, and I am feeling really off, confused. And my partner's like, what are you feeling? What do you feel like? And I'm like, I honestly feel drugged. And as soon as I say the words drugged, I knew someone had drugged.
This thing right here is exactly why you should not go to graveyards at night. The story that I'm about to tell y'all happened in a small village in Pakistan. It all started when two boys decided to visit this graveyard at night. And obviously, before going, they knew what they were doing, okay? They heard that you should not visit these places at night, but they decided to go anyways. Now, the two boys went to that graveyard, and one of them didn't want to be here, okay? He was kind of forced. So, talking to his friend, he was like, bro, come on, okay, we saw the graveyard. Can we please go home now? We're not doing this. Now, when his friend heard them saying that, he was like, come on, bro. At least let us explore, you know? We did not come here for nothing. We're not going back. I'm sorry, bro. You're talking about you, bro. We're not doing this. Oh, okay, I see. How much? What? What do you mean how much? Come on, bro, you know what I mean. Here, it's all I have. Take it. We are going there. You and me, yes, we are going there. That graveyard, cemetery, whatever, that's my favorite place. Now, the two boys ended up by agreeing, and they are exploring the graveyard now. And just for you to know, the graveyard was too dark. They had to use flashlights. Now, they're both exploring, talking to each other, basically making jokes. You know, one of them was like, bro, you see that skull over there? That kinda looks like you. Bro, you're so funny. Our little comedian. How you doing that? Hey, but bro, don't you think that light over there is low-key shining too much? Shine bright like a diamond. Hold on. What do you mean that light? Oh, I thought you saw it by now. That light over there. Oh my god, bro, you're right. I didn't even see it first. I thought you were joking. This is when the boys realized that they were not alone in that graveyard. Somebody from really far is using a flashlight too. They both saw that light again. They couldn't agree. One of them was like, okay, we're not going there. That right there could be anybody. The other friend was like, come on, bro. That is probably someone like us. He just came here to explore. You know, just like us. Okay, you know what? You go first and be quiet. We don't know that person. Yeah, okay, bro. Understood. And this is where they started coming closer and closer to that light. And once the boys came close enough, they kind of started seeing him. He was dressed in full black, but that's not the most important thing. He was digging a grave. When they saw that thing doing that, they were confused. I mean, why is somebody digging a grave in the middle of the night? So this is where the boys started talking to each other while keeping their voices low. They were like, bro, what the hell is he doing? I don't know, bro. Hey, yo, I agree. What the hell are you doing? One of them clearly didn't understand the plan. He screamed and this person heard him. When this person heard him, he stopped digging the grave, he turned around and started looking at them. Now everybody's looking at each other, the boys from this side and this person right here from the other side. As they kept looking for each other for about 10 seconds, not knowing what to do, but then this person right here started running. The good news are, this person was not running towards them. Matter of fact, he was trying to escape. This is when one of the two boys basically reacted like, oh yeah bro, keep running, not so tough after all, huh? Okay bro, I think he's gone. Exactly, this mysterious person right here decided to run away, but the boys really wanted to see what was he doing, so they decided to go to the place where he was. So they went to the grave that he was digging, and there they found some things that they couldn't explain. They found a picture of somebody that they didn't know with writings on it, a lock, you know the lock that you close closet with, a lock, and a bottle. When one of the boys decided to grab them, the other one warned them. He was like, okay bro, don't touch everything. That person right there was doing black magic.
She makes like a creepy smile.
They were attempting to play the scary challenge called Burning Sam. Burning Sam was an innocent little boy who lived in a far distant village. It was a very long time ago, so the village was made out of straws and haze. People in the village were always scared of Sam. Why? It's because he had the ability to see into the future. Sam had the ability to know when and how someone was going to die. Because of this, everybody avoided him. Now, in this village lived a priest, a very evil priest that was being controlled by his wife. His wife that he did not know was an evil satanic witch. The witch would cast spells on the priest to corrupt his mind and his purity. But why would the witch do this, you may ask? See, the witch had a plan for the village and the people in it. The witch wanted nothing more but to spill the blood of the innocents in the village so she could bring forth a demon. An ancient demon that is said to bring you power once it's resurrected. The witch tried to spill innocent blood by convincing the priest that Sam was evil and his gift was a gift from Satan himself. But as corrupted as the priest was, he wasn't just gonna believe everything out of her mouth. So the witch casted a spell upon the town. A spell that will take away the rain, dry up all the rivers, rot all the corn and the crops, and get everybody sick. When that started to happen, the priest actually believed that Sam was evil and the child of Satan himself. So they all gathered their pitchforks and went for Sam. Sam didn't even try to run because he knew his fate. Sam stood up to them and said, I will not die today. I will not die today. But that didn't stop them. They brought him to the stake and burned him alive. While Sam was frying on the stake, the rain started and washed away what was left of the fire. The people couldn't believe their eyes. He was still alive. He was not wrong. He wasn't gonna die today. Some people would say that God sent the rain to save Sam, but others would say that the ritual worked and now the rain is coming back to the town and the village. They didn't care that Sam was alive. They wrapped him up in bandages and threw him in the dungeon. Sam couldn't move nor talk anymore. If you're wondering what happened to Sam's parents, let's just say the witch already took care of them, as in unalived them. Sam lay in his dungeon night and day. The kids would go to his dungeon and say to him, Burning Sam, tell me my fate. How will I go? How will I be unalived? Remember, he have the gift of knowing when, where, and how. Sam would get so much pleasure from telling the kids. He became cold and evil from being locked up in that dungeon. One night, the devil came to Sam and said to Sam, Would you like them to feel the pain that you felt? Just repeat the words, yes. Sam said yes. Would you like them to feel your hate? Sam said yes. Would you like them to suffer? Sam said yes. So the devil said, Will you let me in, Sam? Sam said yes. As the devil proceeded to possess Sam, his whole body became lit on fire, and that fire consumed the whole village. Sam got his revenge, and so forth. Only a few kids escaped that village. Those same kids created a game called Burning Sam. You write Sam's name 3 times on 3 different papers, and then burn the paper. You burn the first paper, you repeat in the mirror, Burning Sam, come and tell me my fate. So on the second paper and the third paper, it says that Sam will come to your house and tell you your fate and exactly how you will be unalived. Okay, this is a really long video. If you made it to the end of the recording, please let me know in the comment section if you want me to play this game on live stream.
What the fuck was that? Bro!
What's going on around you?
I don't know. I'm frozen. I am frozen.
Did the window
Sean.
break?
Whatever this boy encountered must have been absolutely terrifying, and I still can't wrap my mind around what he must have experienced while he was lost in the woods. This is 3-year-old Riker Webb, and one day he was playing with his dog in his backyard when he seemingly vanished into thin air. Police did a very extensive search for him. Neighbors got involved, they had dogs, they had helicopters, all trying to find this toddler. But it wasn't until 2 days later when he reappeared looking like this. Now, it's very obvious that something traumatic has happened to this child, and it may just be the shock from having been lost. But what's even stranger is that Riker was found just 2.5 miles from where he went missing in an area that had already been searched. And he was allegedly wearing a different outfit than the one he disappeared in. So this 3-year-old had supposedly wandered off by himself and has somehow survived 2 days alone outside with rain and freezing temperatures in Montana. And once he's found around the same area that's already been searched, he's wearing someone else's clothing. Riker's brother actually had a TikTok account at one point and posted a video asking Riker if he could remember anything from that time. He responded by saying that he remembers seeing a house in the woods where someone lived. According to Riker, someone let him come into the house so that he could, quote, live. What do you guys think happened to this little boy?
Do you ever get the feeling that you're not alone in your own home? What is that? Apparently I'm also not alone in my own home. So, don't know what that was, but let's get into the story. Anyways, this Reddit user talks about her experiencing having somebody living in her ceiling. So, let's read. I never believed stories about strangers secretly living in other people's houses. I always assumed they were exaggerated internet tales or mental health cases. But what happened to me last year in Portland changed the way I think about privacy, safety, and what it means to be home alone in your own house. It started with subtle noises. At first, it was just a light tapping above my bedroom late at night. It didn't sound like pipes or an animal. It was way too conscious and too deliberate. I asked my landlord about it, and he brushed it off as if it was just the building settling. Friends joked that it was ghosts, or like I was working too much to hear noises, so I ignored it. The tapping didn't stop. It grew more frequent, happening not only late at night, but also in the early mornings too. One morning, I woke up convinced that someone was whispering above me. It was so soft that I couldn't tell if it was real or part of a dream. I tried to convince myself that it was nothing. About a week later, things escalated. The tapping changed location. It wasn't above me anymore. It started coming from inside of the wall next to my bed, then from the direction of the air vent. It sounded like fingertips brushing metal. I turned off my fan to get rid of any background noise, and the room went heavy and silent. Then the breathing started. Slow, controlled breathing. Not the kind of breathing you hear from a neighbor through the wall. This was close. Too close. I stared at the air vent, my heart pounding. I told myself I was imagining it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, and I aimed it directly at the vent. The moment the light hit the slits, I saw two eyes staring back at me. Human eyes. Wide open, unblinking, reflecting the beam of my flashlight like an animal caught in headlights. I froze in place. The eyes didn't move. The breathing didn't change. It felt like whoever was behind that vent had been staring at me long before I had turned on the light. The vent cover shifted. Not much, but just enough for me to tell that someone's fingers were hooked on the inside of it. My body reacted before my brain could. I grabbed my keys and ran out of my apartment barefoot. I didn't stop until I was in the parking lot calling 911 with my hands shaking. I couldn't stop staring at my bedroom window from the outside. At one point, the light flicked on, then flicked off. Whoever was in the vent was now in my room. The police arrived within minutes. They checked my apartment and didn't find anyone. Then they accessed the attic crawl space that ran above several units. It was tight and dusty and barely tall enough to crouch, but what they found in there made my skin crawl. Someone had been living up there. There was a sleeping bag, a stack of granola bar wrappers, empty water bottles, and a small pile of personal items that belonged to me. Hair ties, receipts I had thrown away, and a single sock that I thought I had lost in the laundry. There was also a flashlight, a cheap one, with dying batteries. Then they found a phone. The phone wasn't locked. Inside were dozens of photos taken through the vent. Photos of my room, photos of me asleep, photos of me changing, photos of me working on my laptop, all taken from the same angle, through the vent above my bed. I didn't sleep for 2 days after that. I stayed at a friend's place while I packed up my belongings. The police never caught the person. They think he entered the attic crawl space through an unlatched maintenance door on the roof. None of us knew how long he'd been up there, or how many times he had climbed down into my house. I moved to a different part of the city, installed cameras, and bought metal vent covers with screws. I check every closet when I get home, and I still wake up sometimes thinking that I'm hearing tapping. Maybe it's nothing now, but it wasn't nothing before. People laugh at my paranoia, but paranoia is just awareness sharpened by experience. When something feels wrong in your own home, do not ignore it. I wish I hadn't. Alrighty guys, that was tonight's story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to always check your vents when you get home because you never know if somebody's living up there. And let me know if you guys like this. I have plenty more stories that I can share that I'm finding online. So I will see you guys on the next one. Good night.
Playing hide and seek should not be a scary thing unless you're playing with a demon. Thank you to Brenda for these earrings. They're so cute, but what is not cute is this fucking story. And I heard it in Spanish, which is like 10 times scarier. So I'm gonna translate it for you because if I'm scared, like you guys have to be in it with me. You have to be scared. Yeah. So this guy says that when his daughter was 9 years old, he would always play hide and seek with her. So this particular day was no different. They were playing hide and seek, except for the fact that he could not find her. It had been 10 minutes and then 15 minutes and she was nowhere to be found. Out of nowhere, he starts to hear his daughter's voice coming from a bedroom that they use as storage. But when he hears her voice, he's realizing that it sounds like she's having a conversation with someone. So he can still hear her having a conversation, talking. He's starting to get closer to the room, and that is when he hears his daughter go, "Shh, go behind me because my dad's gonna catch us. Stop talking because we have to beat him." So the dad decides that he's gonna take his shoes off because he wanted to be really quiet. He notices that the bedroom door is open, so he's silently moving inside of the bedroom. He's in the bedroom, really quiet, and he notices that his daughter is now talking in like a really low whisper. He sees his daughter. She's turned over her shoulder, talking to the air, saying, "Shh, be quiet. He's gonna catch us. That's the moment where he screams, "I got you!" And she screams so loud, like, "Oh no, he got us!" And then she turns over her shoulder again to talk to the air and said, "You distracted me, he caught us." When he sees that, he's like, aren't you too old to have imaginary friends? His daughter looks at him and says, "Imaginary friends? No, Dad, my friend." She looks back. She's like, "Oh, where did she go? She's not in the room anymore." Oh my god, I was so scared. He said that he got like the biggest of goosebumps where like his whole body shook, and he looks at her and says, oh, you just scared the crap out of me. And then his daughter's like, no dad, I'm not trying to scare you. Where did she go? Where is she? And he's like, what friend? There's nobody in here. And she goes, no, when I came to hide in this room, this girl started talking to me. So I asked her if she wanted to be my friend, and she said yes. So I told her to hide so that you wouldn't find us, and she started telling me that she lives in this house, and who are we? I'm the owner of this house. Who are you? And when this little girl, her friend, was saying that she lives in the house and who are you, she said that she told the little girl like, shh, be quiet, my dad's gonna catch us, stop talking. That's the convo that the dad started hearing when he was going towards that bedroom. And the dad in his head is like, what the fuck do you mean the little girl said that she lives in this house and who are we? The dad explains it like that is like a horror movie moment. Like, why is this happening to me? Why are you telling me this? Like, what do you mean the little girl? Where is the little girl? So this day in particular was the girl's 9th birthday, and the dad, when she's telling him all this, he was like, okay, let's just go downstairs. They start walking down the stairs, and he, in order to make like fun of what's going on, he out loud says, okay, the little girl who just became friends with my daughter, please come downstairs so that you can celebrate her birthday with her. Let's go have some cake. The joke didn't last that long, because when they lit up the candle for his daughter, the candles went out as if somebody had blown them. Like nobody, there was no wind, there was no air, the daughter hadn't started blowing the candles, and they just turned off. He relit the candles, didn't want to make a bigger deal out of it, and he just never mentioned it again. After this, 6 months have passed when something happened that he literally had to take his whole family to get blessed. So it's nighttime, and him and his wife are laying in bed, you know, talking. She's pregnant at the time, and they found out that it's gonna be a boy, so they're having a conversation about what to name the little boy, when out of nowhere, the bedroom door just slams open. The daughter runs into the bed with them, in between them, and covers herself from head to toe with their blanket. And then she just starts saying, they scared me, they scared me, they scared me, they scared me, over and over again. Now, while all this is going on, there is something that scared him a lot, because when she literally like dove into the bed with them, covered herself up, he says that she smelled disgusting. Like she smelled like rotten, like something just bad. And it's not a smell that they had ever smelled on her before, or would even send her to bed smelling like that. It was just horrible. It was bad. So again, she's like, they scared me, and he's like, what's going on? Like, what happened? And that's when his daughter tells him, Dad, there's something in my bedroom. And the dad's like, okay, something's in your room, but what? Tell me what happened. This is what she tells her dad. Dad, I was already asleep on my bed, and you walked into the room and you started hugging me. And I told you, Dad, stop hugging me. I'm not a little girl anymore. Let me go to sleep. And then when I opened my eyes to look at you, I found out that it wasn't you. And whoever that person was stops hugging me, goes and closes my door, and then it stands on the foot of my bed. So she explains that as this thing is standing on the foot of her bed, she could see that its form is changing. She sees the form of this thing's head that originally kind of looked like her dad. Then it starts getting really long. As it gets long, it also seems like it's dripping something on the ground. Like it just looks like there's water or something coming off of this thing. When she saw that, she started to get really scared. So as this thing was like turning and like dripping, she started to tiptoe to her door so that she can get out of there. And when she finally got to the door to open it, she felt that something grabbed her hand. So dad's listening to this, right? And he's like, shit, someone has probably broken into the house. He's not thinking it's paranormal, so he's looking around for something to use as a weapon. Unfortunately, he only found a wire hanger. He turns around, tell them to stay in the room, lock the door. I'm gonna go investigate and call the police. So as he's walking to leave the bedroom and leave his pregnant wife and daughter to lock the door, he hears when the daughter's like, it's because he touched me here. And he turns back to see his daughter's hand had actual black like liquid on it, like something did touch her. He goes into the bedroom. There is nobody there. He even goes into the daughter's restroom that is in the bedroom. There's absolutely nobody in that room. However, when he looks at the foot of his daughter's bed, there is like liquid, like this black oil liquid around the bed. So in his mind, yeah, somebody broke in. I mean, there's proof that something was there. He didn't see anybody in the house. The cops did eventually show up. They looked around the house, outside of the house. The windows were all locked. The doors doors were locked, nobody had gotten in because something would have been broken or opened, and there's absolutely nothing in that home. The cops went as far as to say, do you want us to get that black liquid and test it out to see what it could be? But I'm telling you right now, I don't think anybody was in the house. Also, just a side note, when he did go into his daughter's room, it stunk so bad. It smelled disgusting, the same way that his daughter had smelled. But when the cops finally showed up, that room didn't smell like that anymore. He ends up telling the cops that he doesn't want them to test that oil because he's really not interested in knowing what it was, being that they were telling him nobody could have done this, maybe your daughter dropped something on the floor. He does end up telling his dad what happened that night and how she smelled weird, the room smelled nasty. His dad ends up asking him, wait, you said your daughter smelled that way too when she went into the room? And he's like, yeah, she did. And the dad's like, so she smelled that way, but when the cops got there, that smell was gone? And he was like, yes. That's when his dad tells him, son, I think you were visited by a demon. Stories like these make me feel like I cannot be a parent, because if my child came into the room and was like, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm going under the blankets too, like I'm scared too. What are we gonna do about it? Because I'm not going out there.
Can we show him the older homestead?
Yeah, let's go. As you know.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Was that you?
Yeah, that's on either side.
They went to both.
Yeah.
This girl sent in a story to me about how she watched someone pass away. They cursed her right before they passed away, and now she is dealing with these terrifying, what I would call demonic experiences. This is gonna live rent-free in my head forever. Now, this girl's name is Margarita, and she lives in Latvia. What happened to her began on an ordinary day. She was just visiting her grandmother. Everything was normal, it was bright outside, and she did not feel scared or uneasy in any way. Now, she was out and about doing stuff, and she was on her way back home when she notices that there's this older woman that's helping this other woman. Now, the woman that was being helped was incredibly small and frail, and she was hunched over, and the other woman that was helping her, well, both of them seemed very worried. The woman that is helping the elderly woman calls Margarita over and just says, hey, can you do me a favor? I'm really worried about her. She can't walk right now. Can you help us walk her back to her apartment? Now, something stuck out to Margarita that was very strange. She noticed that the elderly woman did not want them to call an ambulance, even though in Latvia you can call ambulances and they are free as long as it's not a false alarm. Now, Margarita feels really bad about this, so she's like obviously going to help them. So she walks over and she starts helping the woman back to this apartment, the building that the elderly woman claims is her building. Now, many apartment buildings in Latvia still have the old post-Soviet style entrances. They can only be opened by typing a code into a metal panel. So they get to the door and the elderly woman begins lifting up her weak arm and is like trying to touch the buttons. But the code was not registering, and she just keeps pressing the buttons again and again, and her hands are shaking. And suddenly Margarita feels that something is wrong with this situation. And as soon as Margarita starts getting this feeling, the older woman just grabs onto her jeans with unexpected force. Then the woman's hands just tighten so hard it shocked her, and then she looks right into her eyes and says in Latvian, go to her, I will not live anymore. But the voice sounded like it came from far away. The moment she says that, her entire body just goes limp. It was like as if the life had just drained out of her instantly. She collapses, falls forward, smashing her head against the concrete wall beside the door. This happened so fast, none of them could react, and they are just in shock. Now, at this point, they call the ambulance, and it arrives extremely quickly because they live right by the station. So the EMTs start examining the woman. They look up at Margarita, and they tell her something that makes her stomach twist. They said that her heart had already stopped, and that it was very strange that they had claimed that she had collapsed only 10 minutes ago, because her body was already stiff, like she had been unalived much earlier than 10 minutes prior. Made no sense. She felt this cold thing crawl up her body when she heard that. And at this point, she is like, I am getting out of here. And she just goes home. When Margarita gets home, she keeps playing those last words in her head. Go to her. I will not live anymore. Over and over. She could not shake this feeling that when she grabbed onto her, that she passed something to her. Something dark. Something heavy. So at this point, she decides to go to her altar and perform a protection spell so she can calm down. The moment she starts preparing everything, something completely unexpected happens. The clothes organizer standing next to her altar, the kind from IKEA where you hang shirts, suddenly just cracks completely in half. It was completely new. It had never been damaged before. She said it felt like something invisible had slammed into it. Later that day, she calls one of her friends and she's telling her friend about what happened. This is crazy to her, right? When there's these two hooks that were on her wall and they were securely screwed onto the wall, and they just rip off the wall and come off the wall right after she's talking about this with her friend. She said she felt like the more she talked about it, the more strange things would occur. That night, she had a nightmare that was so vivid, it felt real. In the dream, that old woman was holding on to her the same way that she was holding on to her in the street. Behind this woman stood this tall, black, shadowy figure, and before she could move or scream or do anything, it leaned over and just slammed itself into her body. So right as this happens, she snaps awake and she's shaking, and her eyes are starting to adjust to the room, and she suddenly looks over, and there is that tall, dark figure just leaning over her, staring at her. It's just towering above her. She blinks, this thing is gone, but that feeling stayed with her for a long time. The whole experience has made her feel extremely uneasy, and she doesn't understand why this happened to her and why that woman spoke those last words to her. But one thing she does know is the feeling that something followed her home that day is very real. By the way, she drew a picture of what that thing looked like, and this is what it looked like. That's the picture that she drew. So that's terrifying. She did say that I could tag her, so she will be tagged in the description. So if you guys have any questions, suggestions, or comments, you can drop them below. But as always, please be respectful. But what do you guys think about this story? I think this is one of the craziest stories I have gotten. First of all, she sees somebody pass away right in front of her. And on top of that, they speak those words to her. And then she starts having these crazy experiences. That's a wild story. That, when I read this, I was like, my jaw was on the floor. What could, I mean, was this woman purposely asking her to come and help her so that she could transfer this demon or whatever this thing was onto her? And one of the scariest parts to me is that the EMTs, or I don't know what they call them in Latvia, if they're EMTs or if they're called something else, told her that she had been unalived for a lot longer than 10 minutes. So they were walking around with an unalived person. That's terrifying in itself. She did start to feel like something was wrong, though. She felt it as soon as she was pressing the buttons and it wasn't working. So that part is also confusing. The whole story is absolutely insane. I would love to know your thoughts, opinions, and suggestions. So definitely drop them below, because this is something that I don't know. Do you notice how I still didn't do? Look, even one other one fell off. But with that being said, I am now going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Aaron_Ann77. Thank you so much for the comment you left. That was so nice. I really appreciated that. Thank you. And you said that you've been watching for a while now. Thank you for being a longtime supporter. That means so much to me. You have no idea. Thank you for being a part of my community, and thank you for commenting and pushing my videos out. Thank you for liking them enough to watch them. I'm so lucky to have people like you, and I truly hope you know how much I appreciate you. I love you, girl. Mary Jane Reyes 22. You said that you listen to all my stories while you're waiting in the pickup line for your kids. I love that. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for watching all my stories. I work so hard on these stories. Like I say this, I know all the time, but the fact that people watch them and that you like them enough to constantly watch them while you're waiting for your kids is, I feel so lucky to have that. That's so cool to me, to be on someone else's phone and have them watch me doing something that I'm so passionate about. So thank you for giving me that gift. Thank you for being a part of my community. Thank you for being kind and commenting and pushing my video out. And I hope you know how much I appreciate you, girl. I love you. And thank you both so much for being a spooky baby. I love it so much. Thank you. By the way, you guys, I am getting the rest of my merch so I can show you guys what it looks like. So I can show, I'm getting the hoodie, the crew neck. I already have the shirt, and then I'm getting the pink and the black cup, because there's pink and black cups, not white and black. I messed that up when I told you guys about the merch last time. And it can say either, if God brought you to it, he'll take you through it, or it can say spooky kisses and haunted hugs. So I will show you guys that eventually when it comes, because she's sending it to me. And guys, I will be putting this in a series of stories from different countries. So if you are from a different country and you have a paranormal story, please send it to me, because that's part of what I'm doing for Christmas. I am going to do other Christmas stuff, but I want to do stories from different countries. So make sure that you send them to me if you are from a different country. Okay, thank you. And with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. What are those? Keep sending me your scary stories and recommendations. Have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
One of my followers, Joshua, sent a story in to me, and it made me cry. Hang tight for the twist ending. He shares a story about his life, and he starts it where he met this girl. He said he was so nervous, trying to work up the courage to ask her out. His voice was shaky and his heart was pounding, but when he finally did, she said yes. He says they start dating, and then days turn into weeks, turn into months, turn into years, and he's just living his life happily with her. They were together about 3 years when they decided to move in together, and he said he got a really good job in sales. They build routines together, share groceries, make inside jokes, have fights, and make up. And then the big day comes where he proposes to her along the Pacific Northwest coastline. He remembers the cool air and the sound of the ocean churning. And then fast forward and they get married. He said it was a small and simple wedding. And then they had children. They had 2 daughters, 1 year apart. He says he cherished every moment of their childhood, the days that turned into years. One of his fondest memories was watching his wife at the park holding his oldest daughter's hand as they walked by the playground. She was wearing a simple black dress that moved softly in the breeze, and his heart just swells looking at her. His daughter had a little red sun hat that barely stayed on her head, and they had just gotten back from a family brunch. He's holding his youngest daughter on his hip, and she's sleepy and clingy, and she smells like syrup from the pancakes at brunch. Her hands are still sticky, and he's just enjoying every little moment, thinking back to all of the really happy times and some hard times too. He reminisces about holding them when they were sick and sitting at softball practices because his youngest daughter loves it. He talks about comforting them when their hearts were broken and eating cheap ice cream and watching rom-coms with them. He loved celebrating schoolwork, small victories, and late night talks. And now it's 18 years later and his youngest daughter is about to graduate high school. He was so upset because his new boss was on this power trip and he was making everybody stay late, and he did not want to miss this graduation. In his frustration, he thought maybe he should just up and leave this company, even though he's been there since he's 25. But all he wanted to do was get to the ceremony. He said there was a really bad thunderstorm and he could barely see to drive. The rain was pouring down, but he pushed through it because he was just determined to make it on time. The rain picked up even more, and then he sees 2 big bright headlights coming straight towards him. And then he wakes up. He's in a tiny, musty room with a bunk bed overhead. At first, he doesn't recognize anything. And then realization hit, and he thought to himself, I'm back. He says there was no sense of like, oh, that was just a dream. He said it felt like life was ripped out of him. He's 23 years old. He's in a crappy shack that his ex-wife's parents forced them into, under their generosity, which always came with threats. He was in an abusive relationship with no job prospects and no freedom. He said he's sterile with no kids. They are not an option. He said, the kids I just raised for 18 years never existed. The roommate in the bunk above him stirs and his heart sinks. He says, it wasn't real. It wasn't my family. None of that happened. He said, but it felt like it did. He mourns them like real people, real daughters, a real marriage, a life he lived. He says, for weeks he grieved, and then life had to move on. He says, but even now, 10 years later, he still thinks about them, his wife and children who only existed in a dream. Things are fading, and he doesn't remember their faces anymore, but he remembers the love. I was going to try not to cry, but anyway, that one gets me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure he'll be in there reading them. I have so many thoughts on this, but I don't want to keep crying, so let me know what you think, and follow for more creepy story time.
El Chavo del Ocho, a show millions grew up watching, has a dark secret behind it. A simple story about a boy who lives inside of a barrel, surrounded by laughter and unforgettable characters. But behind that cheerful neighborhood, there are rumors of something far darker. Because while the series made people laugh, it also came with its fair share of eerie mysteries. Beloved on-set characters described the sensation of being watched. Objects will reportedly move on their own, and strange shadows were also seen walking across the set when no one was there. Then comes the disturbing legend of The Lost Episode, a highly unnerving episode said to have aired only once near the end of the show's lifetime, where the neighborhood looked darker, almost abandoned. According to some, when a Chavo disappears at the end, it started to give off an eerie energy, as if the place had lost all life, abandoned, or like if something dark had recently taken place there, while others believe it was never real, just a collective memory born from the show's strange atmosphere. But the most chilling and unsettling claim was discovered years later, during the final credits of one episode. As the camera pans across the courtyard, we can see this pale, lifeless face. It appears from a corner, peeking from the right side of the set. Some fans call it El Rostro Fantasma, the ghost face of El Chavo. A few say it was nothing more than a crew member caught by accident, while others believe it was something else, a quiet reminder that maybe that laughter we grew up with was never completely alone.
Do you guys want to hear a story about a guy who saw the Mothman in Appalachia, had a horrible experience, and then had some type of special agent show up to his house afterwards? So back in the 1970s, a guy named Reese lived in this tiny West Virginia community called Addison. It was the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, and the river was basically the town's backyard. So Reese wasn't a very social guy, so after work, he would just take his tiny little motorboat out on the Ohio River and he would fish. Now, he would do this long after the sun disappeared behind the hills. One night, near an area that locals called Brian's Run, basically a lonely pocket of woods pressed right up against these old railroad tracks, he was just packing up when he hears this sound echoing across the water. It didn't sound like an animal or a person, it was like something in between, he said. He said it was like this long broken cry that rose and fell like it was in pain. Thinking that somebody may be hurt, he guided his boat towards the shoreline, but the closer that he got to the shoreline, the weirder the sound got. It was like something was trying to communicate but failing. So he ties his boat, he grabs his flashlight, and he steps into the dark trees. Now up ahead, he sees what looks like this tangled mound of brush or branches. So at first he's thinking this is just a collapsed tree limb, right? But then it shuddered very slightly, almost like something was breathing underneath it. So he raises his flashlight to get a better look, and before the beam even reached it, the entire pile just lurches upward in one movement, like something was literally unfolding itself from the ground. As he's watching this happen, a rush of air just slams into him. He said that it literally felt like his bones were rattling. His flashlight then flies out of his hand because of this gush of wind, and then he sees something. He only sees the outline of it, but it's impossibly tall, human-shaped, but wrong. He said it had broad shoulders, enormous wings tucked behind its back, two burning red eyes reflecting the faintest bits of moonlight. At this point, he's like, I do not need to see any more. F this. He turns around, he starts running through the branches, and he is running so fast that these branches are whipping at his face. And then behind him, he hears another cry, louder though, sharper, and he swore he could hear wings beating against the air above the treetops following him. He finally bursts into the road. He gets onto the roadside. He's shaking, out of breath. Minutes later, a trucker drives by and he flags him down and he's like, can you please give me a ride back to town? I have to get out of here. So the trucker gives him a ride home. He gets home. He goes to lay down in bed that night. He cannot sleep that night. But oh, it does not end there. The next morning, Reese calls a friend, and it's the only person that he trusts enough to believe him. Now, after talking to his friend, him and his friend drive back to the site to go get his boat, because remember, he had left his boat there. When they reach the shoreline, his friend just stops dead in his tracks, because where the boat should have been, nothing but blackened wooden ribs, still warm like they had burned recently. There's no sign of a campfire, no discarded matches. There was no sign that anyone had been there at all. Just a perfectly burned out boat. Now, Reese at this point is very upset, and so he decides he's going to go to the sheriff. Now, as he's talking to the sheriff is just kind of listening to him quietly, and then when he's finished talking, the sheriff says, don't worry, we'll look into it. But Reese said that the calmness in his voice was just wrong, like almost like he had already known more than he should. So Reese is like, okay, whatever. So he goes home and he sees his wife, and his wife looks a little rattled, and he's like, what's going on? And she says, a man came by looking for you. She described him in a black suit, black hat, dark sunglasses in the middle of rural West Virginia. No name, no reason for being there. He only wanted to know where Reese was. Now, Reese and his wife were like, we're not waiting for answers. They pack up their bags and they leave town that very night. No goodbyes, no explanation. Years later, Reese finally told the full story to one of his friends, and he said that he had no doubt in his mind that this creature was the Mothman. And he believes that the man who came afterward wasn't human either. The boat, no animal burns a boat into clean ashes. Something or someone wanted to erase what Reese saw. So what did you guys think about this story? Number one, I do have to credit the original poster. It came from Addison, West Virginia, Mothman encounter, and it was shared publicly online. I'm not sure exactly where. It was like Spooky Appalachia or something. I do not like retelling stories without giving the person credit, so I will try to tag them in some way, or I will put it in the caption. This is a real encounter though. The original poster posted it anonymously and she just retold it, so this is me retelling it from her. But yeah, what do you guys think about that story? That was so creepy. First of all, the creepiest part to me is the Mothman, obviously, or whatever that thing was, that would have terrified me, but the person showing up at his door afterwards looking for him, him. That would just creep me out. And the fact that he thinks it wasn't human, I wonder why he thinks that that person wasn't human. I wish I could talk to this person. Do you guys think this was the Mothman? Do you think it was something else? Do you think maybe it was some type of alien? Like, who was that person that showed up at the doorstep? Again, I want to know. I don't know. This is so creepy. And the fact that his boat burned down, why do you think that? What does the boat have to do with anything? They said so that everything that he saw could be erased, but the boat doesn't have eyes. The boat didn't see anything. It was him. And people obviously fish on that lake or that river or whatever it was, so I don't understand why the boat got burned down. So if someone could please help me understand that, drop it in the comments. Also, if you have any questions, I'll try to find the answers for you. Drop those in the comments. But any suggestions, or I guess not suggestions, but comments, theories, anything you have, drop them below, please, because I would love to know. Before I do my shout outs, I do want to remind you guys that I am waiting a couple days to answer my comments so that I can get to more of you. So if you guys see some videos where I've not answered any comments, those of you who have been here for a while know that I do eventually get to them. So I will be getting to the last 2 videos either tonight or tomorrow. So don't ever think I'm ignoring you guys. I'm going to keep reminding you guys of this. It's really important to me to respond to the people who support me. I will never not do it. So thank you so much for your patience. And with that being said, I'm not going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Fire6224, you said that you've watched every single one of my videos. Thank you so much for doing that. That means so much to me. That's a lot of videos, and I can't tell you how much that means to me. Thank you so much for being a spooky baby. Thank you for being a part of my community. Thank you for commenting and pushing out my videos. Thank you just for being here. I hope to see more of you. I hope you know I appreciate you. I love you. Jacqueline Reyes, MCMXC. I hope I got that right. Thank you so much for your comment. You are so sweet. What a girl's girl. That was so nice of you. I really appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for commenting and pushing my videos out. Thank you so much for being a part of my community and being a girl's girl and being kind. My freaking screen keeps going black. I hope you know that I love that you are here. Thank you for being a spooky baby, and I just wanted to show my appreciation to you and tell you that you are the best, and I love you, girl. And with that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys either submit to me or recommend to me. So if you're into that, hit that follow button, and I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories and recommendations. Have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much, my spooky babies. See you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
Let's read some scary Reddit stories. I used to rent a room in a basement apartment. My friend's family lived in the real house upstairs, which is how I ended up there. They have a lot of family parties. They're first generation Filipino, so family parties are a frequent thing. One day, I was doing some homework in my room. The other 2 tenants weren't home, so I had apartment B to myself. But my friend's family was being so loud upstairs, I was having trouble focusing. So much chatter and feet moving around, it sounded like dancing was going on. I texted my friend, "You guys sound like you're really having a good time up there. I'm not really getting anything done. Can I come up?" He texts back, "No one is home. We went to Wisconsin for the weekend." I went outside, saw that no one's car was there and no lights were on in the house. And then I just went for a walk until someone else got home. Yeah, I wouldn't stay in that house by myself either. I'd be leaving. In late 2015, I was laid off from my job at the zoo and was staying with my grandparents for a couple of months. My grandparents have 2 little dogs, and because Grandpa worked nights and Grandma was away in Texas for a month, they were really glad to have someone around to feed and walk the dogs during the day. One night, I'm home alone, I'm relaxing in the tub, when all of a sudden, through the skylight in the bathroom, I can hear whispered, hushed voices that can only be coming from the back porch. I think I must be hearing things, but then both dogs start barking their heads off. My blood runs freezing cold and I leap out of the bath, pull my clothes on, and run to the porch, but whoever was there was already gone. I took a shovel and walked the perimeter of the house but found nothing. After that, Grandpa updated the security system. In 1977, an Alberta couple wanted a pump for their septic tank, and they decided to take the pump from the tank of their old abandoned farm instead of buying a new one. In doing so, they discovered an unalived body that was thrown in there. The victim's story is very horrific. He was tortured and schmexually mutilated before he was pew-pewed, then thrown in the septic tank of an abandoned farm, hoping that the crime would never be discovered. The victim was identified in 2021, but the unaliving is yet to be solved. That one is really scary, and it reminds me of that thing that happened in Los Angeles where that girl was found in the tank, like above the building. That's really scary and really sad.
My grandma always used to tell me that nothing good happens between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m. She would say those are the devil hours. Do not go out during that time. And, you know, I always tell people, if you don't believe any of this stuff, right, go out after midnight into the woods alone and then tell me what you think. Now, many years ago when I was younger, I had just gotten out of the military and I was kind of adjusting to this regular civilian life. Now, one of the things that helped me is I got into doing outdoor survival. Now, I used to do these 4 to 5 mile backpacking hikes where I would go out sometimes 12:30, 1 o'clock at night and hike in the woods. This particular area that I would hike was along the river. It was like this hill, and it was just this heavily wooded area. Now, at the time, right, this area was known to be home to the Peoria Indians. And this is where they hunted. This is where they lived. There's even believed to be this huge burial ground on this area that was never found. So this particular night, I decided to hike this trail called the Pimatui. Now, the Pimatui was an old Native American trail they used to use to get down this hill to the river. So what I would do is I would hike this trail, and I would get to this specific spot where there was a stream that cut through the trail. I would then turn right, and I would follow this stream through a ravine down to the river. So as I'm hiking the Pimatui Trail, I come to the stream, I turn right, and I start following along down this ravine. I start hearing like music, and it sounded like someone was singing, but it wasn't like a person. It was like one of those old music boxes. And as I kept on walking further and further, like it got a little louder and then a little louder. And that's when I get to the specific spot of this stream where it kind of makes a curve, and there's this sharp ravine with 2 steep sides on both sides. And I remember hearing this music like coming from the side of this cliff. And I'm like, what is making that music? Like, where is that coming from? And that's when I see like this opening on the side of the ravine. And, you know, it was probably about this wide. You could, you know, barely crawl through it. And it was some kind of cave or something. So I hiked up to the top of this hill, and I started shining my light into this cave. As I look in there, I see the movement of something very large. And I don't exactly know what it was. I can't explain to you what it looked like, but it caused me to like jump back. And at the time I'm thinking, okay, if this is some kind of wild animal, I'm blocking its only exit. So I started making my way back up the ravine and heading away from there. And as I'm walking, I notice like all this movement up ahead in the woods. And I see several deer just booking it through the woods like something had just scared it. And I could hear from behind me some movement coming up through the woods. And there were like branches breaking, and you know, you could hear the crunch of something hitting the leaves. I go a little faster now because I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, what is following me? As I'm, you know, continuing up the ravine, it starts getting closer and closer. And it got to the point where I knew that it was very, very close. So I pull my camera out and I take a picture with the flash on. And when that flash hit, I could see two glowing eyes staring at me. So I threw my bag down and I just take off running as fast as I can. I get to the trail, I get out of there. And whatever this was, it broke off. It didn't follow me. Later that night, I'm looking at this picture and you could clearly see the two eyes. And I'm like, whoa, something was following me, whatever was in that cave. The next day, I hiked back out to this area because I wanted to find this cave again. Except I could not find it anywhere. And I went all the way along that ravine down to the river. There was no cave. And I still, to this day, have no idea what happened that night or what was following me.